did she say Donald daters? Like as in a conservative dating app named after Trump? Okay, this I have to see. Hold on, Donald daters. Oh my God, it's a real thing. Oh my God.
To be easier for people to sleep with you. And that's the thing. You might say, well, I would never sleep with a conservative, but it's like, it really doesn't seem like you're having enough conversations with the people that you're sleeping with in order for you to even vet that in the first place. So yeah, I don't know, maybe if you really...
I know you're trying to slut shame progressives, but like, I don't know. It just sounds based. It's kind of like, yeah, well, we're actually willing to enjoy the pleasures of the sexual act and intercourse itself. And you're just dominated by knowing which one of us voted for Donald Trump before you. That's all, you know, that's all you care about. It's like, oh, I'm almost there. It's like, yeah, but did you vote for Trump? Oh God, no!
Thank you to today's sponsor, Patriot Switch. On this channel for a while now, we have been talking about problems like supply chain issues, voting with your dollar, and refusing to support companies that ultimately just do not share your values, and oftentimes flat out probably just businesses that do not share our values and transfer those dollars.
Wait, now I have to see this. Patriot Switch? Taking back our country one purchase at a time. All right, brother. Join with over 2 million monthly shoppers that have made the switch. We need to start voting with our dollar and ensure that our purchases are supporting companies that promote freedom. How do your purchases make a difference? Well, I'm glad they're turning on to this, because this is something, hey, if Republicans are learning about how a very small minority of multinational corporations control everything that we see, eat, fuck, drink, watch, then yeah, that's a good thing. The illusion of choice. All right. Good job, cons. There are hundreds of consumer good brands in our country, and the vast majority of them are all owned and controlled by a handful of mega corporations. Even when you think you were buying natural products, in many cases, those natural companies have not been absorbed by these giant corporations. I mean, it kind of sucks that it's trying to transfer this message into nationalism, but rather than like workers' rights, like it should be the workers that control these companies. Where does your money go? Studies show that nearly 63% of the price you pay for consumer goods adds no value to the end consumer. Billions of dollars each year is used to purchase advertising with media companies, fund distribution of big box stores, spending money on better, safer ingredients, and a company that supports freedom is a better option. Wow. I'm like half impressed. Old way, new way. Tub tiling cleaner. Family owned. Laundry detergent. Everything I tried so far exceeded expectation. Goodbye to toxin chemical. Love cleaning products. Feel at home. No more skin issues. I hate commies. I love that I can get higher quality US made products at wholesale prices and support American businesses and families. Because of this, I'm no longer funding the enemy. Who in this list was communist? Which of these is the communist company? Is it Kraft? Oh, it's probably Nestle or Nestle. I don't know. They have like fucking actual child labor. I don't care. P&G, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo. It's got to be PepsiCo. That's the communists. Or Kellogg's. Those filthy sex degenerates. I know about you, Kellogg's, Dr. Kellogg's. I'm tuned in, I should say, instead of tuned in.
And specifically modern dating on dating apps. And long story short, it's not good. If you haven't seen them already, you can check out some of the videos we've done going over just degenerate Tinder profiles. Those are a lot of fun, but also if you're single, I guess somewhat depressing. And you know, anytime I do a video.
Also fucking weird. What are you doing? Why like people are on those things to meet other people. Why are you going through it, then broadcasting it on your show and getting like huge volumes of people to hate on them when they're not even like interacting with you? There's nothing going on there. You understand this, right? There's not like they are making videos about how much they hate Chen, and then you like clap back, and then that's your justification. They're just on there because they're trying to meet people, and then you're like, whoa, cringe, look at this, they, them, fucking.
About dating, I have so many people in the comments just lamenting that they're single, yet they don't know where to go to find a person who actually shares their values and is not just some crazy feminist or male feminist or just otherwise degenerate. Because it's true, it's hard to be single nowadays.
A male feminist is just a feminist. You don't have to add male to it. It's just about equality amongst all the genders. That's it.
But especially so if you are conservative and you want to start a family or just live traditionally in any way, shape, or form. And this brings us to the issue of conservative-focused dating apps. Now, there have been a couple of these that have come out over the years, and from what I understand, none of them have really been successful. I think with any type of alt tech, it's really hard to get a footing if you're focusing on a small market share. Take Twitter, for example. So many of us hate Twitter, yet we're still there.
Wait, why would that be a small market share? Isn't like nearly half of America, or maybe 1/3 of America, like identifies as conservative in some respect, or at least traditionalist? I would assume. These things aren't new. There's been like Christian single mingler.com, whatever. There's always been tons of alternate sites if you want to just go into like a pool of like-minded political people.
just where everyone else
Yeah,
is. Yes,
Christian
there are
mingle.
alternatives, but so far they're not really a viable replacement. I think the same can be said for dating apps. But anyway, now Peter Thiel is throwing his money behind a new conservative-only dating
Peter
app called The Right
Thiel.
Stuff,
Neat.
and it's kind of funny because the left is really mad about this, as is displayed by this article in the Mary Sue.
I was like, who amongst, I don't even know this exists. And honestly, if you want my first read on this before I've heard anything about it, God bless. Go forth, inshallah. Like, if you go and you meet people and you get happy, like, what do I have to complain about here?
Peter Thiel to launch conservative dating app because no one wants to date Republicans. It starts off by saying billionaire venture capitalist and enemy of the free press. Peter Thiel has had a busy few years, what with cozy...
Like, I'll be honest with you, in terms of like all the insidious things Peter Thiel does with his money, this one ranks very low on my list of concerns. Like, if it's like, oh yes, he's going to try and like police language and make sure that blah 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 doesn't happen, like, okay, then that's a little bit more like concerning. But if it's just like, yeah, it's going to be into an app called The Right Stuff that allows right-wingers to meet each other, I mean, sure. I think I'm not here to propose that every single right-winger lives a life of sadness and loneliness. I want them to meet people. I don't want them to be lonely. I want them to have orgasms. I would assume they'll be a lot more chill after all those things happen. So please, God bless, go forth, go fuck, like all that kind of stuff.
Up to Donald Trump and piecing out of the metaverse after its stock tanked. Now the authoritarian fanboy has set his sights on a conservative dating app. Thiel invested $1.5 million in The Right Stuff, an invite-only dating app catering to conservatives.
No one wants to date Republicans. I love the headline. Am I here for it? It's not, look, it's not, okay, hold on. U.S. demographics, Republican. How many Americans are Republicans? Okay. It's got to be like almost half the country, right? The United States has an official resident population, figure includes 50 states, Census Bureau, blah, blah, blah. Quadrupled growth rate, 20 foreign-born population. As of 2020, white people, including Hispanic whites, numbered 61.6% of the population. My God, white people are taking over the country. They're replacing the rest of America. There's a great white replacement. I can't believe this. Latino Americans accounted for 48% of the national population growth. Yes, but what about Republican? 26% of Americans are highly right-wing authoritarian. Wait, what? Business Insider? Oh no. A quarter of Americans qualify as highly right-wing authoritarian, a new poll finds. Shit. More than a quarter of Americans qualify as having right-wing authoritarian political beliefs, according to polling by Morning Consult. The study used authoritarian researcher Bob Altmaier's definition and scoring system of right-wing authoritarianism, which defines it as a desire to submit some authority aggression that is directed against whomever the authority says should be targeted, and a desire to have everybody follow the norms and social conventions that the authority says should be followed. The poll characterized respondents as high if they scored in the top 15% and if they scored in the bottom 15%. The survey asked adults in the US and 7 foreign countries, Canada, Australia, the UK, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain, whether they believe the 2020 election was determined by fraudulent votes, whether the Capitol rioters did more to protect than undermine the U.S. government, etc. So 55% of high right-wing authoritarian respondents said the same. About a third of the right-leaning adults and 26% of the high right-wing authoritarian respondents said the Capitol rioters were protecting the government when they stormed the building. Meanwhile, 20% of right-leaning and 23% of high RWA respondents said vaccines aren't necessary to stop the spread of COVID-19. Oh, it was only 1,000 adults. I don't think that's... I think we're okay for now. I mean, it's scary, but I don't know if that's going to be the only thing I go by. The U.S. remained center-right ideologically in 2019. Okay, Gallup. Slight plurality of Americans identified as conservative, 37%. Moderates are high at 35%, while 24% were liberal. Movement towards liberalism has slowed amongst Democrats, though it still is at the top. So this is totally conservative. So conservatives outweigh liberals, and yet moderates, I guess, can go either way. 2019 findings are based on combined data. So even if we took this one just at its surface, 37% of the country, like, okay, going back to this, there is no way. There's no way that 37% of Americans are completely, like, out of the dating pool because of their conservative beliefs. Maybe they're not as privy to use texts or apps, or maybe it's just the locations in which they're doing it. I'm out of the dating pool, so I don't know what Tinder or Bumbler or Grindr's like these days. I don't know if pushing you can like select, and you can tell me this, chat. Can you select your political affiliation or what you're looking for? Can you be like, I am looking for people who are left leaning, or I'm looking for people who are this, or I don't care, I just want to get mine? Are they all options? To the dating apps? Yep, on some of them. On Bumble, yes, but there's no leftist option. Depends on the app, but usually the closest you get is liberal. I return. Okay. Well, I've learned things.
Living in large progressive cities. The app will launch this summer in Washington, D.C. and looks to be modeled after Raya, only more depressing. So we're not going to go through all of these parts of the article because that's not really the focus of this video, but I just find it funny how opposed to Peter Thiel this author is. She clearly sees him as some sort of demon that's working against democracy because I guess billionaire donors are only okay when they are left-wing. Hey, George Soros, how you doing? The article continues, though. The Right Stuff is the brainchild of former Trump political aide John McCanty, who was considered a key figure in the January 6th Capitol riots. Conservatives have tried to create right-wing alternatives to traditional apps such as Parler, Rumble, and Getter, all of which are considered failures with low engagement and member retention. So I would personally push back on the idea that sites like Getter and Rumble are failures, especially since they have been seeing massive growth lately. But anyway, we're continuing on with this biased article. After all, what good is a social media app if they can't troll the liberals? These apps are just 5 people.
This is so wild, though. This is like, look at the headline. RightWing Dating App triggers leftists. Peter Thiel and the Right Stuff. Is she going to do anything other than one article in the Mary Sue? Is that going to be it? And that just broadly speaks for all the left?
In a chat room typing "Let's go Brandon" in all caps. So clearly this person hasn't spent much time on Rumble or Getter if she really thinks it's only 5 people, but ironically that actually speaks to her being in an echo chamber rather than the right-wingers who are on these sites. But also I would push back on the idea that a conservative-only dating site is anything like Parler, Rumble, or Getter. You see, Parler, Rumble, and Getter, those aren't platforms that are meant to exclude liberal or left-leaning voices. They're simply meant to provide a space where right-wingers can actually express themselves without censorship. That is not the same thing as saying we are only catering to conservatives, even though liberals might take it that way because apparently they can't stand to be on a platform where, you know, conservatives can actually express their opinions. The article then goes on to talk about how the Right Stuff will not be the first app that is aimed specifically at conservatives.
I feel like that's just the N-word argument a lot. Do you want to go to a place where everyone's screaming the N-word at each other? Sounds fun, right?
As I mentioned,
they're just expressing themselves. It's their opinion. You got to remember that.
There have been other apps that have tried to do this before. Specifically, there's been Writer, Donald Daters, and Conservatives Only. Now, this author alleges that all of these platforms are down. I haven't been single in over like 5 years, so I can't speak to whether any of them are still up. But honestly, there are other dating apps that cater to niche groups like religious or faith communities, for example, and those seem to thrive okay. So in terms of viability, I really don't think that it's out of the question that a conservative dating app would succeed. And honestly, if I had to guess why none of these previous platforms have worked, which I mean, I haven't heard of them, so I'm guessing that they haven't, it would be because of little to no marketing, because again, I haven't heard of them. Because I feel like I've had enough conversations with conservatives who are single and who want to date, but just don't want to date a liberal, where it's like, I can see how this would fulfill a need in the market. But it's interesting because throughout this article and even online, we see that the left's reaction to this, and clearly this has gotten under their skin. We'll get to why I think that is in just a second. In their minds, they're trying to spin it not as conservatives are looking for other conservatives and they're not happy with the dating market in like the general population. They are framing it as, oh, conservatives just can't find anyone to date them. As this author writes, apparently most folks aren't interested in dating or sleeping with the acolytes of a racist, sexist, xenophobic con man who fomented a violent insurrection in our nation's capital. I guess conspiracy theories are now an aphrodisiac. When you hate
Wait, yeah, I'm reading your thing, spam maps. I don't know if this is right, but did she say Donald Daters, like as in a conservative dating app named after Trump? Okay, this I have to see. Hold on, Donald Daters. Oh my God, it's a real thing. Oh my God. Okay, I will speak out about this one. This one's funny. Come on. Like, if we honestly had, like, Bernie Bro's wink, where it's like, you could meet the bro of your dreams, and he's also a Bernie Sanders supporter, the right would lose their shit over that, okay? If there was a gay dating app called Bernie Bros, every single right-winger would be like, look at this fucking sodomy app, oh my God, how could this exist, blah. Emily Marino, the founder of Donald Daters, has been interviewed by Fox News to discuss her new dating app. Appearing on the Waters World Talk Show, Marino explained that the idea for the platform came after she saw Donald Trump supporters were facing discrimination on dating apps. She said, I saw a real need for this. People who go on mainstream apps, they're told if you're a Trump supporter, swipe left. The Donald Daters website explains that it's not exclusively for Republicans, but anyone who's open-minded about politics. The founder described her own relationship to Fox News by saying, politics has never affected our relationship. We put politics aside and focus on what makes a strong relationship, which isn't about who you vote for every 4 years. You can have politics in love if you choose to, but with Donald Daters, you don't have to just talk politics, even though you're on a dating app that is centered around a politician. Donald Daters suffered a serious data breach the day after it was launched. Although the vulnerability was quickly fixed, Marino admitted the app is constantly at risk from liberals who might access the site with the sole intention of shaming the users. It's the liberals, not our shitty coding. It was the liberals, I tell ya. Those blasted liberals. They're always coming after us. Why are you making me defend liberals? I hate liberals.
Everyone, it becomes very hard to find someone who loves you. Okay, I know this is going to be controversial and will definitely rub some people the wrong way, but I don't think it would be that hard, frankly, for a conservative to at least get sex from a progressive, because it seems like many progressives, at least young ones, have little to no standards when it comes to...
Oh, so who's throwing shade now? Holy shit. All right. Fair enough.
To who they hook up with. And that's not even me saying that in a judgmental way. That's just like literally a statement of fact. Like when you pride yourself and base your philosophy and your ideology around sexual promiscuity and openness, obviously it's...
I mean, it's true. She's got those progressives pegged, at the end of the day. And I do mean that literally, because they are so deeply entrenched in pegging. It is what Marx and Engels spoke about. That is the core tenet of most people who happen to identify as socialists or communists. It's going to be something hypersexual. And what more can be said, Ubu.
Going to be easier for people to sleep with you. And that's the thing. You might say, well, I would never sleep with a conservative, but it's like, it really doesn't seem like you're having enough conversations with the people that you're sleeping with in order for you to even vet that in the first place. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you really...
I know you're trying to slut shame progressives, but like, I don't know. It just sounds base. It's kind of like, yeah, well, we're actually willing to enjoy the pleasures of the sexual act and intercourse itself. And you're just dominated by knowing which one of us voted for Donald Trump before you come. That's all, that's all you care about. It's like, oh, I'm almost there. It's like, yeah, but did you vote for Trump? Oh, God, no.
Don't want to date or engage in sexual intimacy with people who you don't like and whose values you don't share. I don't know. Maybe you should spend more time finding out those people's values before you sleep with them. I don't know. But anyway, the reaction to this dating app among the general left-wing population, or at least the left-wing population that is on Twitter, has been similarly hostile from what I've seen. One person wrote, the Smirnoff icing Trump chode John Kenty and
Okay, it's the podcast Mueller, She Wrote, which, by the way, is it still going strong? If you didn't know, Mueller, She Wrote rose to prominence, obviously, on the back of the Mueller report and that whole thing, when that was a massive thing amongst liberal circles. Not as popular anymore, but I wonder, is it still a huge thing in America? I actually interviewed one of the people way back in the day, really old Serfs lore, back when the Serfs was just a podcast between me and Dave. I interviewed one of the people from Mueller, She Wrote, and it was a really weird interview because it was like, she was telling me how she used to be in like Occupy Wall Street and was like really hardcore leftist. And then I was like, oh, cool. So it was like, what changed for you? And then she was like, probably, I don't know, the election of Donald Trump. It just kind of really reinforced that I need to like, be active against Republicans, and the best way to push up against that is liberalism. So that's kind of her story.
Trump douche Peter Thiel are starting a dating app called The Right Stuff, where uneffable people can meet. Someone else referred to the app as Incels Are Us. And one person wrote, interesting that the right-wing dating app funded by Trump mega...
These are all liberals, every single one of them. Yes, okay, fine. Liberals are upset about this. Weird. I don't know why. But yeah, in terms of the left, I say if you're going to have, like, go forth and have fun and fuck. I think Republicans would be much more pleasant in general if they're having orgasms or they're happy in happy relationships. I don't want a whole bunch of sexually frustrated right-wingers just marching about, talking about how they're trying to fulfill their sexual needs through far-right nationalism or something. I would much rather them be in healthy, happy relationships with each other. Yeah.
Peter Thiel and run by a Trump aide, The Right Stuff, has the same name as an existing white nationalist podcasting network. What I don't understand is that clearly these left-wingers hate right-wingers, right? They don't want anything to do with them, which is fine. Obviously, the feeling is very much mutual. But if that's the case, I don't understand why the concept of right-wingers leaving sites like Tinder upsets them so much, because if every left-wing person was like, I'm gonna leave Twitter or Tinder or whatever site it would be, I'm gonna leave YouTube, I would be fine with that. Like, it wouldn't upset me. But it seems like even though the left and the right, frankly, just don't like each other nowadays, when it comes to the left, they just can't leave the right alone. And we even see this with platforms like Parler and Gab. People on the left will say to conservatives all the time, well, if you don't like Twitter, just build your own one or don't use Twitter. But then when the right actually does that,
they're not upset. They're just making fun of you. That's all. they're just laughing at you. They're not like genuinely like, oh, we must destroy this app before it ever gets out so no right-winger ever comes. We must prevent the great cooing.
The left gets really angry. And it's like, if you're a left-winger, clearly you don't have to date a right-winger and you can call...
You are the only person who seems upset here. I didn't even know these things existed. Now that I do, I'm like, good, I guess. I hope people go out and fuck. Like...
Plus whatever names you want, but then like, why are you so angry if we make our own dating site? Like you don't, this doesn't involve you at all. And this then brings us to the question of whether this is even a good idea in the first place for conservatives. If you are a conservative and you are single, does it make sense to try and date someone whose politics align specifically with yours? And honestly, I think this is kind of a difficult question because the term politics is very vague, and how every individual person handles their politics it's going to be different. If you're a conservative, do I think that there is no way on earth that you can make a relationship with an apathetic progressive work? No, of course not. I do think that that can happen depending on the people. Because, I mean, we have to admit,
it all depends where you live, to be totally honest. If you live in a very, very progressive city, somewhere like Vancouver or San Francisco, for example, you're probably going to meet a lot more lefties, progressives, or liberals, right? There's just going to be a larger pool of them. If you live in a state that is mostly conservative, you're mostly going to be dating mostly conservative people. No matter what the dating app you choose to use, it's going to be within your range of area. It's probably going to be a demographic based on your voting records. That's it.
All like to make fun of the angry red-haired feminists. We got to admit that that is not representative of every single Democrat out there. There's probably a lot of people who identify as progressives or Democrats or, feminists who are just not very politically active and who kind of just go along with the trends because, that's what everyone in our peer group does. And if you're someone who's conservative, but, again, maybe similarly is a little bit apathetic about politics, then maybe a relationship between the two of you could work.
Red hair is feminist now? I think she meant to say blue hair, but she fucked up and said red hair instead. I think she means to say blue hair. But maybe, I don't know. Sorry, redheads. Apparently, you're now the SJW cringe compilation victims. Better not go out and scream in public, because then you'll show up in those compilations.
Shading factor that I would make in relationships with political differences that can and cannot work are how dedicated each person is to their politics and how much their politics plays a role in their everyday lives. And also, we're not just talking about politics here, we're also talking about social views and lifestyle.
Oh,
obviously, a Republican can date a Democrat, but if you're someone who wants a conservative traditional family where you get married, you have kids, you go to church on Sunday, it's probably going to be pretty hard for you to make a relationship work with a male feminist who wants an open relationship and to get a vasectomy so he doesn't have kids because climate change. In general, I don't think it's a good idea to say that X, Y, and Z scenario or combination in a relationship will never work.
That's a comical characterization of what you think a leftist is, but at the end of the day, why is that a horrifying thing to you? If the person is like, I want to A, be in a polyamorous relationship, or B, want to get a vasectomy because I don't have kids, why are either of those bad? That's also just okay. People can decide to do those things, but you're going to get incredibly angry about that. Big red, if you will.
Because people make stuff work all the time, but if you're single, I would just keep in mind that the more difference.
I got sunburnt yesterday up on the mountain from all the snow, and I feel like Big Red right now. Like if I actually look over at the screen, I'm like, man, I have very red cheeks and or nose from sunburns. I haven't had a sunburn in the winter in a long time.
Or points of contention that you have while you're dating, those are just probably going to get aggravated over time, and so the more you can be on the same page just to start with, probably the easier your relationship will be over time. So all of that is just pretty much a long-winded way for me to say
aloe vera is a weird thing to put on your face. Like, I'm sure you're used to putting aloe vera on your arms or stuff when you get burnt, but when you put aloe vera on a face burn, it you just got that weird kind of extra creamy goo. It's got it's a cream within a cream. It's got a goo within a goo. It's like the texture of it is just like extra gooey, and it's like I feel utterly weird right now. I guess I don't get enough facials done.
I don't think conservatives should feel obligated to only date conservatives, but it might make a lot of sense for people to filter out the dating pool that way. However, there may be other considerations for conservatives to keep in mind before they sign up for this app, even if they like the concept of it. Specifically, one consideration came to mind with this person's tweet. Peter Thiel is about to make it a whole lot easier for anti-fascist.
Oh, that's not what I meant. I actually genuinely didn't mean that to be a sexual thing. No, I mean like the thing you get when you go to a spa. Not like... I got both chats right now being like, I don't wait, is that gonna get clipped? Oh no. All right, fine. I accept it. In terms of all the things I've been clipped for out of context, I'm okay with that one. Have it. Enjoy.
Researchers to get positive ideas on their subjects of study. I'm looking forward to following the inevitable @Catfish Collective account. It's gonna be fire. Yeah, sadly, in today's world, it is very possible that should a conservative-only dating site get up and running and become popular, it will be hacked by hostile actors, much like the Give, Send, Go Freedom Convoy donations were hacked. Or similarly, much like the Give, Send, Go hack, the media may go through the people who are using the site in order to smear them as racist or whatever and try to get them fired or shunned from polite societies. And that threat, honestly, in and of itself,
I would say first and foremost that would be a very bad thing. Do not publicly try and shame people who are trying to date other people. I don't know why you think any leftist wants this, and or any leftist genuinely is upset about this. You have one article and a bunch of liberals who are making jokes about it. They're just clowning on you. That's all. If they're calling it fash, what was it, like Fash U or Pedo, the Pedo app or the Fash app or whatever, that's them clowning on you. But at the end of the day, honestly, if you want a perspective from a self-described leftist, I don't care. Go forth and meet each other. I think the right would be better to deal with in any respect if they have some post-nut clarity, to be honest. So I have nothing against right-wingers hooking up with other right-wingers, enjoying all the fruits of the secular flesh. Again, go forth. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to conduct many a human sacrifices in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble yet incompetent jesters, trying in vain to bring some levity into your life. To our Lord Trevor R., we give you thanks for this meager plot of land for us to toil away our pathetic existence. To our brave knights, Carl Wauer, Tony, D.M. Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Reuben Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Nate, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tal, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We salute our mighty heroes off to conquest some bread in some far-off land.